Welcome to The Breakfast Show on Faith FM with Skafy and Lindsay. This is the best place to start your day with positive and uplifting thoughts.
You're listening all across Australia on 87.6, 87.8 or 88 depending on where you are, or you can listen to us through our Faith FM app wherever you are in the world.
And if you're listening live, today is Monday the 2nd of March and I'm in the studio today with Lindsay and producer Sandy. Good morning to you, Sandy.
Good morning.
And Lindsay, let's start with the sharing of gratitudes today. I'm grateful for leather jackets.
Leather jackets?
Not the actual jackets, but the fish.
What?
That bears the same name. Did you know that there's a fish called leather jacket?
I have heard that.
I have not.
Or leather jacks. You can sometimes they're called leather jacks as well. Well, yesterday I joined a friend of mine and their kids, and I brought my kids along, and we went for a swim/dive, free diving at Lake Macquarie.
Okay.
Around the Belmont area.
Yeah.
You know, it's Pelican is the name of that particular beach.
Okay.
And the water was clear. There's lots of fishes. The kids were playing, capturing the fishes and keeping them in little ponds and then giving them names and petting them. They all were released unharmed, but I cannot say the same about their psychological state. Though.
Yeah.
I do not know if they... But they appear to be very docile. But among the fishes, so I'm kind of new to this whole diving world and looking at fishes underneath. This is not something that I have done extensively, but I saw this fish and it was like so well camouflaged, and it has a little
and you
horn.
saw it.
I saw it. Yes, yes. I believe it or not.
So
and
well
he had
camouflaged.
these horn and these like really cool fins.
Yeah.
And it's a leather jacket. It was an absolutely amazing, beautiful fish. And I was just so grateful that I got to see that part of God's creation.
So good.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
So I'm just very grateful for some time outdoors, just swimming and, seeing beautiful nature, beautiful fishes. What about you, Lindsay? What are you grateful for this week?
I am grateful for catching up with people that I haven't seen for a very long time. So that's some family I saw over the weekend and some old friends that I haven't seen for probably over a year, some of them. So, had a really good weekend catching up with people.
What about you, Sandy? What's your gratitude?
I am grateful for a really beautiful church program yesterday. So our pastor was talking about Rahab and Jericho, and my friend Sibel, who was running the worship program, she gave everybody just a piece of red yarn to begin our service with. And, the point was sort of made that you can't just hang a rope that you can't hold on to. So that rope that Rahab that she hung out of her window had to have had knots in it so that the spies could safely get down to the ground. And so throughout our lives, those knots, they might be difficult things in life. They might be special times where we've seen God, but they are touchstone points for us to come back to and hold on to. And so she sort of said, during the church program, tie knots when you have, felt God and stuff like that. So
wow, that is so cool.
Ended up with this very knotted rope.
Wow, that's amazing.
Which was just beautiful.
That is so creative. I loved it. Thank you so much for sharing that. That must have been a very sensorial and unforgettable
it was
experience.
very, very moving.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that, Sandy. And what about you, radio friend? What are you grateful for the weekend? Let us know here, 0491-064-669. Share with us your gratitude. It's good for you. It's good for us. Good for everyone. We can rejoice in your joys as well.
We have had an early message from our friend David, who has gotten in, I think, on the weekend, and said that he's grateful for a public holiday over in Western Australia.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
Kickstart with a quiz question.
We are fill in the blank. Thou dost keep him in perfect something whose mind is stayed on thee because he trusts in thee. You've got it there, Lindsay. Good job. And Skafy, yes. Fill in the blank. Thou dost keep him in perfect blank whose mind is stayed on thee because he trusts in thee. 0491 064 Send us a text message with that missing word. Thou dost keep him in perfect something whose mind is stayed on thee because he trusts in thee. And you can look up Isaiah 26 verse 3, 0491 064 Let us know that you're awake and listening.
Very good. Okay, this is actually a pretty interesting Bible verse. It's a beautiful Bible promise, to be honest. I have claimed it and used it in my times,
Absolutely.
In my life again and again. So we can talk a little bit about it. Lindsay, we are going to be looking at we're approaching the end and the closing of the story of Joseph here, but in particular, we're going to be looking at the very last days of Israel. Not Israel as a nation, but Israel the man,
Right.
Jacob.
This is a fascinating passage.
Yeah, I want to see what you think about it as well. So let's start in Genesis chapter 47 and verse 27. And just the context here for those who missed the show on Friday, what happened is that finally Joseph's family, Jacob and all his sons and grandsons, 70 people in total, they settled into the land of Egypt. They got a really nice area, maybe probably one of the best suburbs in Egypt, which is the land of Goshen. It was fertile, it was beautiful, it was green. They could live a very quiet life because the Egyptians didn't want to have anything to do with shepherds. They kind of loathed them for various reasons. And Joseph was providing for them with his royal salary too. This is a little detail. We didn't get to talk about it, but Joseph was providing for his family as he was able to. And, they were going through a difficult time, even though that Jacob did have possessions in the land of Canaan. I think that Joseph wanted for them to spare as much as they could. Otherwise, everybody was going to get miserable, except for the priests of Egypt, because they were public servants. They received a salary from the king. But the rest, people were basically saying, look, just make us your slaves because we need to eat. We have sold everything we had, our lands, our cattle. We don't have anything. And so that was where we were. So let's pick it up from verse 27, Lindsay, please.
Verse 27. So Genesis 47, verse 27 says, So Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt, in the country of Goshen, and they had possessions there and grew and multiplied exceedingly. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. So the length of Jacob's life was 147 years. When the time drew near that Israel must die, he called his son Joseph and said to him, Now, if I have found favor in your sight, please put your hand under my thigh and deal kindly and truly with me. Please do not bury me in Egypt, but let me lie with my fathers. You shall carry me out of Egypt and bury me in their burial place. And he said, I will do as you have said. Then he said, Swear to me. And he swore to him. So Israel bowed himself on the head of the bed.
Okay, so what's happening here, Lindsay? Can you rephrase what you just read with your own words?
So Israel, or Jacob, has moved to Egypt, and he's now lived there for 17 years, and he's at the ripe old age of 147.
Yeah.
And when he knew, look, I'm about to die, and some elderly people, they really know that their time has come and they're going to go any minute now. He called to his favorite son, Joseph, and he said to him, this is fascinating. He says, let me put your hand under my thigh. Mm-hmm. That's a weird thing to say, at least in our culture. Mm-hmm. But this has actually been said before in the Bible. Did you know that?
Yes,
yeah?
I did.
Were you planning on talking about that?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, I'll leave that for you to talk about. But I was like, this reminds me of something that happened in chapter 26.
Yes, I was wondering if you were going to notice that.
Yes.
As an interesting and / weird thing.
It is an interesting / weird thing. We'll leave that for a second. He says, please do not bury me in Egypt, but instead take my body back to the land of Canaan so I can be buried with my fathers, my grandfather, those kind of things. Mm-hmm. And so Joseph is now formally promising this. That's what it means by swearing. He wasn't cussing. He was formally making an oath and a promise to do what he said, because Jacob's not going to know shortly. And then after this, right at the end of this, Jacob passes away.
Yeah. He wanted to be buried, with his ancestors in Israel. So look,
in the promised land.
Yeah, in the promised land, and he's, so said, look, please don't leave me here.
Yeah.
Now, there's a few things that got to my attention here. Number one, that Jacob the successful farmer slash livestock breeder also turned into I would say, can we call him a real estate mogul?
A real estate mogul?
Yeah, because it says here that he bought properties in Egypt. Have you noticed that in verse 27?
Verse 27, they had possessions there and grew and multiplied exceedingly. I'm not seeing that he purchased land.
Oh, in my translation it says...
it says, so Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt, in the country of Goshen, and they had possessions there and grew and multiplied exceedingly.
Okay, yeah. My translation says, and they acquired property in it.
Okay, so property doesn't always mean land. It can also mean, like, other contents,
Yeah,
So
true.
It
But
could...
it could
Animals
mean land.
and slaves and all these different things were considered property.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So I don't know necessarily if he actually
But it doesn't
bought
exclude
real estate
Yeah,
necessarily.
I don't know if he didn't. I mean, I never really paid attention to that detail. But
Because just prior to all this taking place, we've got all of the land in Egypt that was run by, they were called nomarchs, the I don't know, there was about 24 people over the land of Egypt under Pharaoh. They were like state premiers or whatever. They handed over all the land and then all the people as slaves and
That's
all the
right.
cattle. So I don't think there was any land to buy.
Yeah, look, I hear you. And I'm not saying that he did, but I'm just saying here just a few things here. It's possible. I think it's possible that he did, even though you're right. Maybe there's positions that property here is talking about cattle and lambs and slaves potentially. That being said, just one interesting thing here. Whenever people back in those days, and I'm not going to put this on God's blame at all, because this is something that people used it. Because a lot of people, they take issue with that. But whenever ancient people said all of the land and all of the people, does not necessarily mean all of the land, all of the people. And I can give you so many examples. I'll only give you two, just as a general broad application. One example would be even in the Bible, where it was reported that, and the Israelites destroyed all the Canaanites, at that certain country, all the Hittites. There's no one left, not even any women, any baby, nobody. Everybody was destroyed. And then 2 chapters later, they're just like, having commerce with them. Mm-hmm. So there is a bit of all in says, pretty much everyone. It was a big destruction.
General mass destruction, except a couple of people got away.
Yeah, or often they said about if they had like a military defeat, they would say, everybody got wiped out.
Big round numbers, not super precise.
Yes.
Specifically when it came to numbers. However, I'm going to push back on you again.
Push back.
The only time we see land purchased up to this point in the family of Abraham was Abraham buying the burial land for Sarah, and then that's where he's also buried. So up until this point, there is still only that one. No.
I think there's a lot more land being bought here.
No, there is. You'll have to show me, but that's the only plot of land that was purchased by the family, and the rest was given at the crossing of the Jordan by God.
Isaac bought some land?
You'll have to show me a transaction with money involved. But
I don't know. Definitely have to have a look. I never paid attention to that.
The cave of Machpelah is the only purchased land.
This is the only
purchased land.
Didn't they buy something in the land of
for hundreds of years? That's the only purchased land that I've ever seen.
All right.
So everything else was, hey, we're just going to camp here for a bit. We're going to move on. We're going to live in the land of Egypt for a while. The Pharaoh's being very generous and letting us stay here rent free, but everywhere else, it was just camping. And then it was the cave of Machpelah, the place of the dead, was purchased.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay. I'll definitely have to double check on that one, because I did not know that.
Yeah.
But the other time, and we'll talk about there's a very interesting stela, which is like a big commemorative stone by the Egyptians. I forgot it. I think it's the Amarna stela or something.
Okay.
It's I have seen it in a museum, not the replica. I have seen a replica, not the original one. The original one, I think it's in Cairo or the British Museum. Some are really famous. But basically, there is like a passage saying that Pharaoh was commemorating that he had a completely obliterated Israel.
Yes.
There's not one left.
Sure.
We know that's not the case.
We know that's not true.
There's a bit of, figurative language and so on.
And history is written by the victors, right? And
Yeah.
Egypt was overrun with scribes, and scribes were like the next step down from Pharaoh. They were in charge of pretty much everything. They kept the records, and they fudged the records, clearly.
Yeah,
in
there's
lines.
political propaganda was not a 19th, 20th century phenomenon.
No.
It's something that people, whenever they had voice to say, hey, you know what, let's just like flourish things a little bit here to make us look good.
Yeah.
So that just some interesting things here. So that's a good point. So it doesn't necessarily mean real estate, and I think you raised some good points there. I'll concede. But you know what, I just found it quite interesting. If Jacob did, buy a piece of land here or there in Egypt.
I think if he had bought actual land, we would know about that in very clear terms.
Because it's true.
Because then they would have claim to the land of Egypt after that.
Yeah,
which is
true.
not what we see at all. And God keeps telling them, don't go back down to Egypt.
No, that's right. We don't. That's a good point. Well, let's move on to the next one. In verse 29, there's the hand under the tithe.
Yeah, under
thing.
the thigh. Yeah.
Yeah, hand under the tithe. Do you like to say anything about that first?
Okay, so where we see this previously, and we have this, what is the law of first mention, or the principle of first mention in the Bible, is like, okay, that's a weird thing. Where else do we see this prior to this, chronologically at least? And earlier in the book of Genesis, we see this in the story of Abraham calling his most trusted servant to go and find his son Isaac a wife back from their homeland. And right at the beginning of that story, Abraham says to his servant, who we see from a previous passage is Eliezer, and he says, put your hand under my thigh. And it's like such a weird thing in that story too, but I've studied this really closely.
And make an oath. And
so what this is, I guess, insinuating is talking about the generative power. This is what the commentaries have said, that the thigh refers to the generative power. It's close to the part of the body where new generations come from, let's say. And so this is talking about a deeper idea of what is to come, what is the lineage, what is the legacy going to be. And so Jacob is talking to Joseph here about legacy, and he wants to be part of the legacy of being with his fathers back in Canaan. He's referring back to that idea of what has God's call on our families' lives been. Let's return to that. Let's not get sidetracked and stay here in the land of Egypt. Like his great-grandfather stopped on the way to Canaan, and then his son Abraham, God called him to keep going to a land I will show you, which turned out to be Canaan. Canaan was always the place that God was leading this family before the call of Abraham and even after the call of Abraham.
Yeah, so you want to say, let's go back there.
Let's go back to the place.
But I find it interesting because I have seen a range of commentaries, which makes me believe that this is like a really ancient custom. Yeah. It's not really well preserved anywhere.
No.
And they just have to kind of guess a little bit what's going on. I have seen comments saying that the hand was laid like under like the calf in a not so intimate area.
Okay.
Kind of like in the hamstrings.
Sure.
And and the person will be sitting there, and then you put your hand there, and that would be a very vulnerable position for really both parties. It's very close contact, very close proximity, and when you have your someone's hand, it's under your calf, like under your hamstrings. Yeah. You could basically, that person is vulnerable because they cannot attack you, or so that's one possibility, one element that I have seen. Others said that the hand would slide up all the way down to the groins, the loin area, and that's kind of saying, look, I'm giving you my vulnerability, my life, my descendants are in your hands, literally, saying like, oh, my future is in your hands.
Yep. It's very similar ideas.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, look, swear to me, I'm so vulnerable to you. I'm trusting you 100%. I'm trusting with my entire life, with the most vulnerable parts of me, and I'm trusting with my future. Please do so. And I think I actually tend to gravitate towards that this would be quite significant.
Yeah.
Even though it would be weird and
we don't want to be replicating that this day and age.
No, it wouldn't go down well at all.
No.
But that's,
you'd have some inquiries on your hands.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
So, but look, it was between father and son here. I
Yeah.
think there's a little bit of,
it was always someone very close and very trusted.
close.
We have Abraham with his most
with
trusted
Eliezer.
servant. We've got Jacob with his favorite son. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
Now it's time for our quiz answer and another quiz question.
Our quiz answer. Before I give that, I just want to shout out to John, Lincoln, Letitia, Valnai and David, who are all up bright and early and gave us correct answers to that first quiz question this morning. It is very nice to know that we're not just sitting here talking to ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. Well done, people. Well done, ladies and gentlemen.
So,
what was the blank anyway?
Okay, so the answer was thou dost keep him in perfect peace was the correct answer.
Yes.
His mind is stayed on thee because he trusts in thee.
So good.
Yeah.
yes.
So, all right, guys, I hope you are listening. Our next quiz question is this. There is an end to prophecy and tongues and knowledge. What is there not an end to? There is an end to prophecy and tongues and knowledge. What is there not an end to? 0491064669. Shoot us an answer. Lindsay's got a correct one. Skafy has given me 3, but his first answer is correct.
I'm sure that the second and thirds are correct as
Yeah.
well.
Part of the same
Yeah.
chapter, but
Yes.
not specifically.
There is an end to prophecy and tongues and knowledge. What is there not an end to? And you can go to 1 Corinthians 13 verse 8 if you want to check that out. 0491064669. Please send us your answers.
Okay, it's a very interesting, one of the most beautiful chapters in the Bible.
Certainly is.
And Lindsay, I was looking online, and there's not just one piece of land that has been bought in Genesis by Abraham.
Okay.
Yes, and
Getting fact checked.
Yeah, I got fact checked. And remember, I mentioned that. What about Shechem? Wasn't it bought for
Shechem?
land? Yes,
Okay.
it has been bought for 100 kesitas.
Kesitas.
100 coins or
Yeah.
100 monies. This is in Genesis chapter 33. This is by Isaac. So Abraham bought some land, and Isaac bought some land as well.
All righty.
Yeah.
I'll go.
All
Good.
right. So not a lot of transactions, but hey, they did definitely
They're
acquire
both in the land of Canaan
some land.
specifically.
They were buying the land that God says, look, I'm going to give that to
Yeah.
you. But they were part of that acquisition was through buying.
What was the
Honestly.
story behind buying Shechem?
I don't quite remember the story. I have to give
What
a
chapter was
refresher. Well, let's look about that later because I don't want to
Sure.
miss out from the story of Joseph here in chapter 48. But then we can go back into it. I think it's in chapter 33 of Genesis. So let's go to chapter 48 here. Would you read chapter 48 verse 1 for us, please, Lindsay?
48 verse 1 says, Now it came to pass after these things that Joseph was told, Indeed, your father is sick. And he took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And Jacob was told, Look, your son Joseph is coming to you. And Israel strengthened himself and sat up on the bed. Then Jacob said to Joseph, God Almighty appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me. And said to me, Behold, I will make you fruitful and multiply you, and I will make of you a multitude of people, and give this land to your descendants after you as an everlasting possession. And now your 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, who were born to you in the land of Egypt before I came to you in Egypt, are mine. As Reuben and Simeon, they shall be mine. Your offspring, whom you beget after them, shall be yours. They will be called by the name of their brothers in their inheritance. But as for me, when I came from Paddan, Rachel died beside me in the land of Canaan on the way, when there was but a little distance to go to Ephrath, and I buried her there on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem.
Okay, let's just pause here. There's a lot of things going on here and some interesting things.
Yeah, there's a lot of different direction he's going in, it sounds.
The first thing that is catching on my attention here, Lindsay, is verse 5. Now your 2 sons who were born to you in the land of Egypt before I came to you in Egypt are mine.
Yeah.
Ephraim and Manasseh. So like, is he kind of adopting him? And he's saying, look, just like there'll be like Reuben and Simeon. They're going to be mine. Yep. By the way, your sons, your kids, they're not going to be yours anymore. They're going to be mine. What's with all of that? What do you reckon? And then he said, look, and then after that, like their grandsons, they'll belong to you. They'll be part to you. But your sons, they're actually going to be my sons from now on.
That's interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Was there ever a tribe of Simeon?
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking that one.
Yeah.
It was in the area of Judah, right?
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember the geographical area.
Yeah,
but yeah,
Simeon does have its own tribe. I was just thinking, okay, because I know that there were some of the sons of Jacob who did not receive land inheritance.
No, I think that they all did.
Oh, did they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was the Levites who didn't get
yes, right.
the land. Levites. They only got a handful of cities. Okay. All right. I am confusing a couple of things in my head. First thing in the morning, guys, forgive me. All right, so what do you think is going on?
My thinking is this. He is doing something that it's kind of came back to fashion in some ways. I do not know if you've heard about this, but I have a number of wealthy friends. And the latest trend, the latest thing about them is they are distributing their inheritance and their wealth to their children while alive.
Okay.
And that has served a number of different purposes. Purpose number one is that people get to experience the joy of seeing their children enjoying their share of the inheritance.
Yep.
Number two is preventing fights, because what happened a lot of times, people realize that, hey, every time that someone dies and leaves a lot of money to people, and then there's a lot of fight that ensues. No, that father wanted me to do this, mother wanted me to do that, and so on and so forth. So this also helps to prevent that. And third, that allows the father to direct and instruct his descendants, his children, on how to use their wealth. So that's actually a thing. A lot of my friends that are quite wealthy,
right,
they have been doing that, and they are very satisfied with that. They don't necessarily give all of the inheritance, but they give a substantial portion, and then it's asking the kids, okay, how are you going to manage that? I want to see. Mm-hmm. Almost like he gives like a teaser, a part, and say, okay, let me see if you're if it's worth it to the rest of it. Actually, just to since we are on that topic, a curiosity here. In the United States, when you're looking at, particularly in the United States, where there's so many billionaires, and my brother works with a lot of these, billionaires, and he was telling me that these families, they have a very interesting kind of a constitution.
Okay.
So there are rules that they learned from family succession.
Sure.
And basically, because normally these assets are not in the names of a person, they're in the names of foundations, corporations, and these kinds of things. And these foundations, they do provide for allowances. So let's say you are one of the heirs of the Rockefeller family or something like that. You're entitled to $1 million or $2 million a year for your stipend. So
sure.
you can buy
trust
your things.
fund, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, one of the things that the trust fund says is that if you are caught, for example, committing transgressing one of the 10 commandments, or if you're, let's say, if you're committing adultery, or if you get addicted to any kind of substance or drugs and so on and so forth, there is a provision that says we're going to give a payout, $100,000 for you to help yourself, but after that you're cut off from the fund. You're not going to be receiving anything, because we cannot accept anyone part of this fund that is actually recklessly managing their life. This is supposed to be a blessing to you and to humanity. So if you're using this to be a curse to yourself or others, we're going to say thank you very much. We love you, but you're not going to have any part with our with these funds anymore.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And this is actually very common.
Okay,
very common.
Do you know how common it is that is enacted?
Yeah. Look, according to my brother, again, he says, look, it's actually very common. He knows a few stories of these cases, where of people from really wealthy families that got disgraced by some bad choices, did not repent, did not help themselves, whatever, and they just get kicked out. So now they are like a peasant, like you and I.
Like you and me.
Yeah, but with a very heavy surname, but still a peasant.
Wow.
Yeah,
interesting.
Kind of what has been happening with former Prince Andrew Now
Okay.
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, when now after the whole Epstein files fall
He was
out,
found out about something.
yes, they're basically saying, look, you're not part of the royal family anymore.
Wow.
You're losing all of your entitlements, the money, the properties, the titles. We're stripping you out of all these things because you have brought disgrace to our family's name.
There you go.
So going back to Jacob, because we're talking about him after all. Why am I saying this? I think that what Jacob is doing, it's something similar to that. He's giving to Joseph and a foolproof way of giving him the double portion.
Ah, okay. So, yes. So this is fascinating because usually the double portion would go to the firstborn.
Firstborn.
And
which would be Reuben.
Reuben, yes. But Joseph is Rachel's firstborn, not the firstborn amongst all the brothers.
That's
the
right.
firstborn of the favorite
And
wife.
Jacob, knowing one thing or two about his sons, he realizes, it might be that the boys will not like that I'm giving the double inheritance to Joseph.
Honestly, so fascinating because there's two different things going on in this family. There is the firstborn inheritance situation, and then there's also the promise from God of the blessing, right? So we know that, was it Esau was gypped out of both of them by Jacob. So he had the blessing stolen and the double portion inheritance.
That's right. So there's say the material inheritance, there's the spiritual inheritance.
Yes.
Another way to put it.
The spiritual and the material. That's right.
And Jacob inherited the spiritual, the blessings of Abraham.
Yeah. He also he stole the blessing and the birthright.
He stole both
he
of
got
them.
both.
No, actually, he didn't steal the spiritual blessing because his father Isaac gave the spiritual blessing to him in his blessing. Not through deception. When he gave him, because remember in the story, so Jacob he pretended to be Esau to his father.
So subterfuge,
and
lying,
then the father
stealing.
made a blessing, and that blessing was only material. Later on, when he found out that he was Jacob, Isaac also gave a blessing to Jacob as Jacob, the blessing that belonged to him. And in that blessing, he said, may the blessing of Abraham be with him. Were you not here when you talked about that?
I wasn't here for that conversation.
Yes, so that's that.
Okay.
So in other words, saying Jacob would have gotten the right blessing irrespective of him ever trying to impersonate his brother Esau or not.
Okay. I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
All right, because I
100%.
know he bought something with a bowl of soup once, and then he dressed up with
this is the
goat
material
hair
one.
at a separate time.
This is the material one.
There's two. Anyway, so there was those two things.
Mm-hmm.
Judah at this point seems to be receiving the birthright of
Not quite yet. We haven't gone to that part yet.
Okay.
We're going to be looking at the blessings, the testament that he bestow on his.
Sure.
But until this point in history, we don't know anything about Judah, what he's going to get. We just know that he has a massive transformation of character.
Okay.
That's all we know so far.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to get there. But the brothers would very likely, Jacob knew, hey, this is going to, if I cannot give you legally because you're not technically my firstborn of all the kids, and knowing what happened before, your brothers might not like you for what I've done. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to adopt your two sons, and they're going to be my sons. In this way, I am going to
Give the double portion way.
Yeah.
Directly
To
from
you.
granddad.
This is why you don't have a tribe of Joseph.
Yes.
You have a tribe of Manasseh and Ephraim. Both of them are tribes of Joseph.
Yes.
But historically, Jacob says, actually, they're going to be like one of my sons.
Yeah.
And I'm going to adopt them so that I can give in this way the double portion to you, Joseph.
If there had been a tribe of Joseph and land apportioned to the tribe of Joseph, that would have been half as much land.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Which I find it just a little bit sad because I would love if there was the Josephites.
The Josephites.
Yeah, those were the tribe of
Of course
Joseph.
you would. Joseph Skafy.
Yeah. But now we have the Ephraimites and the
Manassites.
The Manassites, yeah.
Yeah.
So isn't that interesting?
It
was a
is.
little bit of a
I
estate
never
planning.
thought of it like that.
Yeah.
I never thought of it being like, let me sneaky give you the double portion by just adopting your sons as mine.
I'm adopting your sons.
That's
and Joseph
sneaky.
said,
I like
okay,
it.
Dad. So now they are in parity with the other sons.
Yeah.
And look, to be honest, even if at this point in the story, if Jacob did not do this sneaky, smart, legal move, I don't think that his brothers would actually be mad with Joseph at all. To be honest, I think that they really grew past that.
Well, they were definitely scared of him still.
Yes. And he saved their lives. I'm sure that they have lots of gratitude to him and believe that he deserved it to have a double portion. But Jacob was not taking any risks. He's saying, hey, just in case, let's do some smart estate planning here. And that would be the perfect time that if I had someone advertising on the radio for estate planning to link into that. Because look, Isaac was into estate planning. And there you go. That's the story. This is why you don't have a tribe of Joseph. And you have the two tribes of Manasseh and Ephraim, because Jacob adopted them for this purpose, to in a way to offer them the double portion.
Yeah. Oh, so cool.
Isn't it really cool?
Yeah.
But at the same time, in this manner, Joseph was not going to be unfair to Reuben as the firstborn, because Reuben was technically the firstborn. He would still get a double portion. But because he adopted Manasseh and Ephraim, so there's two double portions given here.
Right. Okay. That's interesting.
So isn't that an interesting thing? So Jacob was quite creative of how he used the laws of the time, thinking outside of the box and saying, okay, Joseph, look, I'm going to give Reuben is entitled to the firstborn and everything. He's going to get that. But you will also get a double portion. How are you going to do this? This is impossible. It's not impossible, because you only have two sons and I'm going to adopt them as my own now. So it's going to be as if, so he's maximizing these, tax benefits, if you want to call it.
Man, the other brothers are like not getting
tax
much.
engineer.
We've got two sons getting like a quarter of everything. And then the other, 10 sons are struggling for the dregs.
Yeah. Oh, no, I think that...
I mean, dregs of a very wealthy family.
Very wealthy. I think that to be honest, everybody will be satisfied. But this is how he found to bless Joseph twice.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
And we are talking about the story of Joseph. I just want to finish up with an application here. And the application being this, Lindsay. We don't need to covet other people's things, because God can bless us even in ways that other people would find absolutely impossible. Joseph, look, he was not coveting for the firstborn, even though Jacob wanted to bless him with that. So Jacob found a very creative way to give that to him without taking away from Reuben, without creating any injustice. So whenever there's something, the Bible says, look, we don't need to be desiring anything from others, because God will always give. He's able to give us the best gifts without having to remove them from other people.
Yeah, I like this. I really like this idea. I heard this idea once that when we have love for the people in our lives, and then a new person comes into our lives and we share our love with them, it's not that we're taking away from the love that we have for others. It's we're finding a new place in our heart for the new person. And there's always more love to give. Yeah. There's never taking away from another person when it's genuine love.
This is how God blesses. He can bless us without taking away from anyone else. So don't need to covet. And if you think that, it's impossible for me to have this, and that, no. Without committing any injustices, God is actually able to provide blessings.
That's so cool.
Isn't that really cool?
It's very creative, beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you very much. All right, Sandy, what are we going to give in terms of the answer to the quiz question?
Yes. There is an end to prophecy and tongues and knowledge, but there is not an end to love. And thank you to Valmar, David and Lincoln for playing along with quiz question number 2 for today.
Love never fails. Yes, I was thinking about the verse that comes
later in the chapter.
Just a little bit later, 3 verses later, or 5 verses later, says, now abide faith, hope, and love. This is my answer, was hope, love, and faith. Because these 3 things will exist in heaven as well.
Absolutely.
We're always going to have faith and trust in Jesus, and we're always going to have this hope that the future is going to be even better than the present. Imagine that, but multiplied by infinity.
Things just getting better and better and better.
After 1 billion years in heaven and eternal life, you can know that the next 1 billion years will be even better than the first ones.
Yeah, wow.
And that forever and ever. It's just unconceivable.
The mind boggles.
The mind does boggle.
Thanks for being a part of the Faith FM family. Join our community on Facebook or get in touch at 1-800-FAITH-FM.